this bores me rotten.
To know you is to love.
Some people call us frickin' frets. We do finger painting. This is how Grandpa and I roll.
And I do.
Grandma's my best friend. My best friend ever. My best friend ever.
To know.
After this, we're gonna get ice cream. Can we go get some ice cream?
And I do. And I do. And I do.
This is the AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan card. Wherever you go, nationwide, your coverage travels with you.
And that's just one of the many reasons you need a card like this. With all Medicare supplement insurance plans, you can choose from a range of plans and keep your relationship with your own doctor that accepts Medicare. If you're turning 65 or older, or you've already enrolled in a Medicare supplement plan, call now for this free guide to understanding Medicare and information kit on AARP Medicare supplement plans, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. As with all Medicare supplement plans, these help cover some of your medical expenses not paid by Medicare alone. This could save you up to thousands of dollars.
Look, you want to do away with almost all claim forms? Like the sound of no referrals needed to see a specialist? You get all that too.
Call now to get your free information kit and guide to understanding Medicare.
Yep, this is one great card.
Call this toll-free number now for this free information kit and Medicare guide.
I'm told we will have Indiana and Kentucky Senate calls at the top of the hour, but before that, fascinating dynamics about that Kentucky race, Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul in particular. The Huffington Post's Howard Feynman is in our campaign listening post, which may look familiar to some of you who watch our show. Howard, what you got?
Well, what I've got is that the Rand Paul people are over the top thankful to Mitch McConnell, who behind the scenes and in public did a tremendous amount of work for a guy he once opposed. McConnell raised tons of money for Rand Paul, has tried to advise him on the issues, has connected him up with national Republican donors and so forth in an effort to make Rand Paul, in effect, his ambassador to however many Tea Party senators there are that McConnell's going to have to be dealing with. And one thing that McConnell has promised is that there will, in fact, be an early vote on repealing health care.
Howard Feynman at the Listening Post. Thank you, Howard, and get out of my chair. Coming up at the top of the hour, just kidding. The first results of the night. The polls closed in Indiana, Kentucky, Georgia, South Carolina, Vermont, and Virginia. We'll have the calls on the Senate races in the two keys coming up.
Hey guys, I know I've been bad at this in the past, so I've come up with some mnemonic devices to help me learn your names. Hello, a penny saved is a penny earned.
Oh, that's because FedEx Ground helps you save money.
That's right, Penny.
Do you know ours?
Heavens to Betsy, Dwayne the Bathtub, Magic Wanda.
Hey, yeah.
What's mine? You're a Dan Fool.
Oh. It's just a device, Dan. You can't take it personally.
Oh, that's cool.
We understand you need a partner who helps you save. FedEx Ground. Naturally colorful vegetables are often a good source of vitamins, fiber, or minerals. And who brings you more natural colors than Campbell's condensed soups? Campbell's. It's amazing what soup can do.
Ever have morning pain slow you down? Introducing Bear AM, an extra-strength pain reliever with alertness aid to fight fatigue. So get up and get going with new Bear AM, the morning pain reliever.
Okay, listen. Somebody has got to get serious.
I think that
we need renewable
energy is vital to our planet.
You hear about alternatives, right? Wind, solar, algae.
I think it's got to work on a big scale, and I think it's got to be affordable.
So, where are they?
It has to work in the real world. At Chevron, we're investing millions in solar and biofuel technologies to make it work.
We got to get on this now.
Right now.
When legal problems make you feel powerless, Lawyers.com puts the power back in your hands with free information, legal forms, and, when needed, the most comprehensive listing of peer-rated lawyers in the industry. Problem solved. Lawyers.com. Every legal issue, one legal source.
seconds to 7 o'clock in the East. Polls closing as I speak in 5 states, and we're now ready for our first results in the Senate. We'll start with Kentucky. The Senate there, the race can be projected from the 7 p.m. poll closing. NBC News projects that Rand Paul, the ophthalmologist from Kentucky, is the projected winner for the Senate to replace the retiring Jim Bunning. In Indiana, Congressman Brad Ellsworth of the Blue Dog losing to Dan Coates, the projected winner. My NBC News, the former senator back in the saddle again. In Indiana, no surprise in South Carolina, Jim DeMint is your projected winner. My NBC News over Alvin Green, who was still running. In Vermont, no surprise there. As expected, the veteran Pat Leahy holds on to his seat in a state that went 68-31 for Obama last time, solid D remaining. In the Georgia Senate race between Mr. Isaacs and the Republican and Mr. Thurmond, the Democrat, this is too early to call. That is an actual interpretation. That is language as opposed to suggesting it being too close to call, which is the other popular number. Too early to call, meaning we may have an idea of what's going on, but it's too early to say with any authority that it's going to hold that way. See the difference between leaning and we don't know. So here's what it looks like. The change in the Senate that we know about so far, obviously a Republican pickup. One, Indiana. I hope it's in the correct order there, Indiana. Here's what it looks like mathematically. If you just return to the country after 20 years, blue would be the Democrats and red would be the Republicans. That's, again, what's firmed up. The size of the Senate has not been reduced to just 67 members. We haven't gone back to 1913 or thereabouts. So there it is. The two big wins, Chris. Rand Paul.
Right. By the way, our sign on the Senate is from the back of the room.
Okay.
Looking forward to You're used to the Democrats being on the right, looking from the front.
All right. Well, Rand Paul in particular in Kentucky completing
I think that race. You know how in sports, especially let's go to basketball. When you're behind, you got to foul to get the ball back, and it never looks pretty because nobody likes the fouls. But it's the only way to get the ball back. I think near the end of this race, Jack Conway fouled. I think that ad that they put together that basically attacked the guy's religion crossed the line, and I think that probably hurt him a bit. But he probably was told by his consultants he had to take a chance because he was fading there. It doesn't look pretty. I think Jack Conway will be running again and again. I think he's got a lot of Clinton in him. I think he's really ambitious. He's an attractive candidate. He will be back again for governor next time. I expect this guy has a future. It's just not tonight.
You know a little bit about Rand Paul.
You made him.
Rand Paul announced his Senate candidacy on my show.
Yeah.
And when he won the primary over Trey Grayson, who was the establishment candidate, he came back to my show and we had a long, strange 20-minute discussion, which consisted of me asking him the same question over and over and over and over and over again. I was asking him about whether or not he agrees with the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And the reason that I kept asking it is because he wouldn't answer. And he was previously on the record saying that he believed that parts of the 1964 Civil Rights Act were wrong, that private businesses should be allowed to discriminate, that's what he believed as part of his small government philosophy. And he'd been on the record quite clearly about it in the past. And I just kept asking him about it over and over again because I knew that was his position, and I couldn't believe that as such a self-declared principled guy that he wouldn't restate what his clear position on it had been now that he'd won the primary. And he wouldn't, and he ran away from me, and then he ran away from his previous issue on it, and then he tried to blame the whole thing on me later.
He was running for Senate.
He was running for Senate, and so his old views were
to go a little Marcus Aurelius on you, who's supplying the surprise here?
Yeah. Well,
so here's the story. The message here, let's be Machiavellian.
Yep.
You played your right as a reporter. You asked the right question, a fundamental question about his deepest beliefs about the Constitution. And he gave initially an honest answer, then he dodged, of course.
Yeah.
Then what did he do? He completely hid it from the press, the First Amendment, and he won apparently tonight. So is that a message to the Tea Partiers, to Sharon Angle and the whole rest of them? If you want to get elected, don't talk, don't answer questions.
They already got that message. That's why Sharon Angle spent a year running away from reporters. They know that talking to reporters is the worst thing they can do. We simply saw him, Rand Paul, become more of a politician every day. He now has a very big problem named Mitch McConnell. Howard's reporting on how helpful McConnell was to Paul getting elected in Kentucky is vital to Paul being a senator. But Rand Paul has said today about McConnell, we will challenge him day to day. That means the Tea Party in the Senate will challenge the establishment Republican Party.
So is that money protection money? How would you term that?
Well, we're going to see what kind of a politician Rand Paul is. He's going to try to please the people who want him to challenge Mitch McConnell every day, and in the back room, whispering to Mitch McConnell, he's going to be saying, "I'm really with you" every day.
So he's actually the same politician that's been elected for the last 150, 200 years.
Well, probably. I mean, my question is he going to do what he did on Rachel's show? Essentially, have these beliefs, but not actually act on them or say them out loud? Or will he, now that he's elected, take advantage of the prerogatives of a single senator who can gum up the whole works and who can do a lot and be a genuine Tea Partier in the U.S. Senate?
You look at the number of votes in the United States House that are 400, 300, whatever, to Ron Paul, where Ron Paul is the one person in the House who is voting no. He'll vote no on naming post offices. He'll vote no on I Like Pie Day. He'll vote no on anything because he believes in being a contrarian U.S. member of the U.S. House. Is Rand Paul going to follow his father's footsteps? If you do that in the Senate, you actually don't get I Like Pie Day. You can stop
exactly.
it for
you can stop Pie Day.
You can stop anything. And you're right. The question is whether or not he will be the guy he campaigned to be in the primary, or whether he'll be the politician he campaigned as in the general.
Let me bring Ed Schultz into this from Vegas on this pressing issue of Pie Day, and I guess Aqua Buddha be praised, Ed.
Well, Keith, I think this is the first real shot over the bow at the Obama administration. This is going to put the Obama administration on the defensive early on in the next session of the Congress. I mean, if you have got Mitch McConnell telling Rand Paul that there's going to be an early vote on health care reform, now the president, we're going to find out just how much he loves this reform. And we're going to find out how much his base loves this reform, because there's no way that the president's going to be able to fence this off in the Congress without the liberal base coming out saying, you know what, it's not the bill we wanted, but we're going to fight for this. So I think this is a very interesting development. And Rand Paul is up by, 10 percentage points. In today's arena of close elections, he's going to run away with this thing. So I think this is a real message to the White House. Okay, you're going to either be on the offense or the defense, and it's going to be interesting to see how the White House plays this. And I don't see how they're going to be able to defend their health care bill unless they get all Democrats on board.
I think it's important also to note what's just happened with Indiana. The Republicans have their first Senate pickup in Indiana. Evan Bayh, probably the only Democrat that could have held that Indiana Senate seat right now. Evan Bayh knew that, resigned anyway, decided not to run again, held on to all his campaign money, and did not give any of that campaign money to any other Democrats in order for them to try to win their seats, and is now essentially reinventing himself as a pundit who talks smack about Democrats and how badly they are as a party, and how that's seen in the seats that they lose, one of which he gave away. So, I mean, the Democrats are going to miss Evan Bayh's Senate seat in Indiana. I cannot believe they're going to miss Evan Bayh.
But that campaign money is usable in any federal election.
If he gets there on the backs of trashing every other Democrat who's ever done anything for him. Evan Bayh, 2 terms in the Senate, he inherited that Senate seat essentially from his dad, has no legislative record to show for his time there, but has made himself a national figure who has only accomplished being the Democrat who trashes the Democratic Party and makes sure they have fewer seats than if he didn't exist. It's unbelievable.
Let me bring it back to Kentucky, because before the call that Rand Paul had won in Kentucky, which we have projected here based on the poll closing at 7 o'clock, Howard Feynman was talking about this meeting of what are now Kentucky's senator and Kentucky's senator-elect. And is it, Howard, is it meeting of the minds, meeting of the wallets? What happened here? Expand a little about, recap what you told us before and expand a little bit, please.
Well, initially, Mitch McConnell opposed Rand Paul. He wanted a more establishment Republican figure to win the primary in the state. Rand Paul won, and Mitch McConnell, being the pragmatic politician that he is, set about the business of currying favor with Rand Paul. That was almost the entire direction of the transaction. And today I spoke to people from both the McConnell camp and the Paul camp, and what struck me was that the Paul people were saying, gee, Mitch McConnell really came in our direction. He helped us out. He tied us into the National Republican contributors. He did fundraisers for us. He helped us on the issues. And gee, isn't that great? But then I asked, is Rand Paul going to endorse Mitch McConnell to be Republican leader? And basically the answer was, Well, yeah, but that's probably because there isn't going to be anybody else running for Republican leader. So it wasn't really a full-throated endorsement. So Rand Paul, who a few year or so ago, wasn't in politics at all, is arguably going to be the pivotal guy in the Senate. And Mitch McConnell is going to be spending half of his time, if not more, in continuing diplomatic negotiations with Rand Paul, because there are going to be 14 or 15